Okay, it is about 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, October the 5th, 2021. Welcome to week number one in the open house. So, okay. All right, great. Yeah, I see that phone thing there. So, um, as you know, my name is Richard Wright, and I'll be here for the next 5.5 weeks. Now, I want to, first of all, lay out a few things. First of all, number one, if you've had my classes before, what is something that is different that you already observed? Let's see how you paid attention. Anything right away that just like jumped out at you from taking previous classes or a class with me? Not that. There's something else. Okay, how about the time the class is starting? That's definitely different. My previous classes were 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I decided I would try to experiment and see if I can get more participation by starting the class earlier, uh, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. But that's what's different. Now, there's a couple other things that I'm going to tell you about this particular course that is different from most courses that I teach, is that, and Alyssa, you kind of touched on it, there are quizzes in this class. However, you should be aware that you get 3 opportunities to take the quiz before your grade is finalized. So you get 3 bites out of the apple. That doesn't happen most of the time. And you're going to see that as I mentioned that today. You also should be aware of 2 other differences in this class, I should say. And that is, so actually it's 4 things. So it's the time I'm starting, it's the fact that you get 3 shots at the quiz. And then the third thing is that there are only 5 lectures. Lectures weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There is no week 6 lecture for this class. And then the final thing that's different that you should know already from this week's assignments. What's missing from this week's assignments so far that you know of? Do you notice something that's missing? Yep, there it is. No discussion posts. Yeah, when they designed this course, for whatever reason, they decided that week 1 there would be no discussion posts. So your discussion posts will be weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So those are the things that should jump out at you right away about this particular course. Now, before I start talking about how to, look at some of the things that you probably already know, I'm going to tell you something very simple that you can remember about this class. This is Introduction to Corrections. Now, there's only 4 elements, 4 possible elements to corrections. They are probation, parole, jail, and prison. That's it. So what we're going to be talking about the next 5.5 weeks is we're going to take each one of these areas separately, and you're going to learn things about what probation officers, parole officers, and jail and prison. You're going to learn that for purposes of probation, probation generally is where you don't go to jail, but you're given an opportunity to serve your time outside of jail under the supervision of a probation officer. And that is who guides the person through and navigates and helps them with services that we'll be talking about in detail. I'm just giving you a little introduction to this course, and will help the person who's on probation, or probationer, to succeed, to stay out of trouble, so that they don't become a recidivist or repeat offender. That's the goal. And there are certain parameters and guidelines which we're going to specifically break down in the future, but that's probation. The difference between probation and parole is that in order for you to receive parole, you have to go to prison first, not jail, prison first. And you're given a sentence, and you're released early from that sentence based upon your behavior or the way that the statute is written in the jurisdiction that you're in, depending on whether determinate or indeterminate sentencing. And that individual then is given a similar type pass. However, the parole board is who decides whether or not that person generally earns it if there is indeterminate sentencing. If it's determinate sentencing, the statute pretty much regulates it, but the behavior of the individuals will regulate and control that. So be aware that when you're dealing with parole, you've gone to jail, and in both of these instances, by the way, you will have a conviction, a criminal conviction. So with parole or probation. Now, there's sometimes some exceptions to probation, but with parole, you definitely do, because you will go to prison first. And the key there is to try to get you the same kind of deal, help. You have guideline rules, and you report to, instead of a probation officer, you report to a parole officer. And that's how that is going to work. You're going to discover that. And you're also going to discover that that individual, in both of these instances, if they violate, a petition will be filed by the probation officer if it's probation, or if it's a parole officer, by the parole officer, called a violation of probation or violation of parole. And then that is brought before a judge, and there is a hearing to determine whether or not probation is revoked or parole is revoked, and the person then goes and serves their time in jail or prison. It is possible to have both probation and parole, because if you receive probation and you violate it and you go to jail, and if the sentence is longer than a year, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because of the next two, then in that case, then you would go to prison if you end up going to prison, and then you would have parole then in that instance. So not to confuse you, so you understand it. Parole, you have gone and served some time in prison. Probation, you have not. Now, this does not count the time that you're waiting for your case to be disposed of, whether it's by plea bargaining or either by trial. And then the next one is jail. Now, generally individuals are sentenced to jail for crimes that are misdemeanors, crimes that receive a sentence of less than a year. In that instance, then you're in jail, and you'll spend your time in jail. Okay. Now you could end up with probation, but not parole. You don't get parole from jail. So and also jail counts as short term while you're awaiting trial. If you're not able to make bail, or for whatever reason bail is not allowed to be established, you'll be incarcerated. Also, jails are generally operated by the county or the city, the municipality. Next, and the final one we have, is prisons. Prisons are long-term. If you commit a felony, which means that your sentence is a year or more, then you are in the status for the more serious offenses there, where you can go to jail and then be paroled and submitted to the parole officer. Now, when you go to prison, in prison, programs should be offered to you to help you, as well as in jail, I should say, to help you. If you have a drug problem, there should be treatment provided to deal with those issues. Okay. If you have an alcohol problem, there should be treatment for that. You're given the opportunity in both of those instances to go to school. And because of the online setup now for schools, more individuals can serve without having the possibility of leaving. But there are many individuals who find themselves when in prison, who see the light of day, and then they turn their lives around. And the goal, again, is to try to do away or minimize recidivism. And that word means repeat offender. Okay? You're going to hear me oftentimes refer to my clock, and I'll talk about that a little later. So that's an introduction to what you're going to study. Just by way of information, you cannot become a probation officer or a parole officer unless you have a bachelor's. Okay, you cannot in most jurisdictions. Oh, one particular point I forgot to mention when it comes to prisons. Prisons are operated by the state or the federal government. Those are the two entities that operate prisons. So you have the Federal Bureau of Prisons for federal level, and you have the various states in which the crime is committed, where the sentencing takes place, that is in control of that individual for prison terms. So that's kind of a summary of what we're going to be studying the next few weeks. So if you can remember those categories, and your assignments are going to cover them, you'll see, and then we'll elaborate more in detail over each of them as we go along. I would, if I had a better attendance for students, invite a probation officer or a parole officer. I have students who graduated from this school who fit the mode of probation officer, well, let's see, correction officer, and who also work in the jails. I have people that are former students and individuals. But we'll see what we can do there. The point of the matter is that understand what this course is all about. It's only about those 4 things that I talked about: jails, prison, probation, or parole. And we're going to elaborate on those. All right. Any questions at this point? Okay. All right. So now, before we get into the mix of things, I want to take a few minutes and have each of you to give me a few words about yourself and what you hope to um, attain in this class. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up your mics if you have a mic there, and then let's see, unmute everybody. Okay. Okay, all of you should be unmuted. So I'm going to ask let's see, Alyssa, you're on the phone. You might be able to still do it. Andrew, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you hope to attain in this class, and what your endeavors are for the future. Can you hear me? Your mics should be, you should be able to speak. You're at work. Oh, you're at work and will have to listen to the rest of the live lecture recording. Oh, Alyssa. Oh, okay. Okay, Andrew, you there? Is your mic working? You having a problem with your mic, or you're not able to? Okay. I don't hear you say anything. Are you there? Okay, your mic is open. So your microphone's not working? Okay. All right. Well, that was something I wanted to try to do. And then I saw that um, Alyssa had to leave because she's at work and that she'd listen to it later. Okay. Well, then I'll just move on. And then I'll go ahead and I will mute you. Okay. All right. So you're muted now. And I'm the only one that is not. Okay. So now let's take a look at uh, sharing my screen. Okay, let's share. Okay. All right. So here we are. Um, when you open your page, you will see the messages, your gradebook, discussions, and calendar. And then on the left side, you'll see a roster. If you click on that, it opens up and shows you the name of everybody in your class. And if you clicked on their name, which I will click on yours, and it tells your email address so students can communicate with each other, okay, as well. So that's something that the school puts in for everybody to be able to communicate. All right. So let's close that down. So down here are the announcements, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And then the course tools and information. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's start with messages. I'm going to open up messages. This is where I can see messages, and this tells me, Juan, good morning, Miss Wright. I think they mean Mr. Wright. It's a pleasure to have you again. I'll say, thank you. This, they just typed, instead of Mr., they typed Miss. Okay, so I will send that out to them. So anyway, that's how I will see your emails that you send me in this mode. And so I've answered everybody here. All right. As you can see, I sent you the PowerPoints for this week, and which I send you all the time. And then I'll be sending you the live lecture later. So let's look at the grade book. So you can go to the grade book, and it says that 2 students have completed the written assignment, and that's not due until the 10th. So I'll have those graded, and they'll get them back. Which, by the way, if you get them in early enough, and I happen to grade them early enough, you can still submit the second one before the due date, because you're going to discover that there's a rubric involved. And then here's the quiz, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then the live lecture. That's for this week. And each week, you'll see if we go through. All right. So I'm going to go through this in just a little bit. Discussions, as you can see, we don't start till next week. So I'll reserve that to next week. So let's go right to the calendar. So here's the calendar for the month. As you can see, the course began yesterday. And this says initial post due, which is totally incorrect. So now what I'm going to do with that is edit this single event. And what I'm going to do with this is take it out. Okay. So now if you go to the month view, you shouldn't see it anymore. Okay, so there is not one, but it begins next week at 7 o'clock, goes down all the way till the 2nd, because this is week 1. I mean, this is week 2, week 3, week 4, and then week 5, since I told you. And so then you'll see that this week you have it pretty easy. You're going to give me the key phrase, and you're going to have your quiz, and then you're going to have your written assignment, because there's no discussion post. All right, so we're going to talk about that in a minute. Be aware that the course ends a week after the last week 5 on the 9th. That's the last day of class. All assignments have to be in by then. All right, so that's your calendar. Let's go back to the content itself. So let's go and let's take a minute and let's look at the announcements. I'm not going to go over every announcement. The writing process, you can take a look at that. Adversity as a Springboard to Success is a video about me. It is not a lecture. It is not a required one, but I do encourage you to look at it. Andrew, you probably know about that from previous class, but it's here, and you just click on it, open it, and it takes you the link, and it takes you actually to the video itself, and it's about an hour and 3 minutes, but you hear me talk in detail about the challenges I went through to become successful. And so I do that to provide my students with an opportunity to be able to relate to how I handle my challenges and why I am empathetic when it comes to my students. APA assistance. Now, I'm going to jump up here to this announcement. I hope that you had a chance to look at this earlier. The Library and Learning Services is offering through their calendar, their seminars. One took place today at 10 a.m. Central Time. So they give a virtual tour of the Library and Learning today. But as far as APA Basics, the 12th and the 14th, so that's next Tuesday and next Thursday at 12:15 Central. I encourage you to click on this and go to that. Spend time, because it will help you a whole lot with APA. Then later on, that following Tuesday at 12:15, there's going to be a webinar going in depth to discussion of more complex APA citations. All of these are important. I would recommend you attend these for your benefit, to help you with your assignments. And I'd put it on my calendar, do it. But if you click on this link here, which I'm not, it will take you there. So this is an announcement that I want you to heed and pay close attention to, because it'll help you a lot. All right. But we also have information to help you here. But you want to go and take advantage of that. They don't do that often. Then there's a welcome announcement, which I'm not going to go over because you can read that yourself. Now, the week 1 announcement, just every week, as you know, who's been in my classes before, that it gives the topic for the module, and then it tells you the chapters. And these are the ones I sent you the PowerPoints for. And then it discusses different activities, transferable skills, which I'm going to be talking about, the 4 correction components. You already know those because I just talked about those pretty much, so I won't spend a lot of time with that. Jails and prisons, probation, and parole. So we've already covered this, the evolution of corrections, and then we'll show you a vocabulary review. And that's taking place with this live lecture here, and the link here as well. Tells you there's no discussion posts, and reminds you that the quiz and the written assignment that we already talked about are due this Sunday. And then tells you that this is an open house. And then it talks about finishing strong and starting strong, and about adversity as a springboard to success. You'll see that every week. Okay, so that's your week 1 announcement and due dates, as well as what I just shared with you on the calendar itself. So now I want to take a few minutes and I want to point out to you the academic integrity video. It is so important that you get this. So I'm going to take off my headset. It's about 4 minutes long, and pay close attention, and you'll hear a good reason why APA is important in this course, in the school, and for your future. And you'll hear a brief explanation of how to avoid plagiarisms, citing your sources in the body of the paper and references at the end. So let's take my head, bring this video on for you to see, closed caption, so that if you have a hard time understanding what's said, you'll have that. Here it goes.
What is academic integrity? Academic integrity is making decisions in your academic life that are based on honesty, trust, fairness, responsibility, and respect. This means being honest in the work you do, while respecting the work that others do. So what is cheating? Cheating means distributing or receiving answers or information by any means other than those expressly permitted by an assignment's requirements or an instructor. Some examples of cheating include asking fellow students for answers or copying answers during a test, using notes, devices, or materials during a test that your instructor has not approved, purchasing papers from websites or other sources, copying your classmate's work, assisting a classmate in misconduct, and other violations as noted in the academic integrity policy that can be found in all course syllabi. Always ask your professor if it's okay to use notes during a test or to work together with classmates on an assignment or quiz. Now let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism means using another individual's work without giving them credit or taking another person's work and claiming it as your work. Some examples of plagiarism are turning in an assignment that someone else wrote, copying words or ideas from someone else. This can be a library resource, course textbook, internet resource, or other material without giving the original creator credit. Failing to put quoted works in quotation marks, or using someone else's ideas in your essays, but changing a few of the words to make it sound like the words are your own. Plagiarism is not just about written words and ideas. It's possible to plagiarize images, graphs, coding, or video as well. So how can you avoid plagiarism? Cite your sources, both in the body of your paper as in-text citations and on your references page. Whenever you want to use words, images, media, or ideas that were created by another person, you should cite that person appropriately as the source of that information.
But how does academic integrity relate to the work world? Isn't it just a college thing?
No. Integrity in the workplace starts with good practices and skills built while you are a student. Would you turn in a project document to your manager as your own when someone else wrote it? Not if you want to keep your job. Individuals can be reprimanded or even fired from their job for plagiarism. Following academic integrity guidelines while you are in school builds those skills and ethical practices that carry through to the workforce.
Okay, I understand how they're connected, but what do I do if I need more help?
If you have questions on the academic integrity policy, consult your course syllabus, talk with your instructor or dean, and if you need assistance with APA citation style or how to avoid plagiarism, contact the Rasmussen library team through our live chat or schedule a research appointment on our library website or through the resources tab of your course. If you would like APA tutoring, schedule an appointment with one of our peer tutors on the course resources tab.
Okay. Right, so let's get out of that. Okay, let's go back. Okay, I think I'm gonna just stop sharing, and then we'll come back. Yep, stop that. All right, so now let's go back and share. And let's go back to Firefox. Let me get this out of there first. And wait a minute, I gotta get this out of here. Here we go. Okay. Dean John Mladic, that was the dean that you saw in that video. He is the person that is responsible for the Library and Learning Center, or rather more the Learning Center aspects of it. So that's your video that you can pay close attention to and notice the things that are said in there. Okay, but I do encourage you to pay attention to this announcement again, one last time, right here, and next week during the day to attend to help you with APA. You got Tuesday or Thursday at 12:15, and then the following Tuesday, the 19th, there's an advance thing. So we're trying to do things to help you to succeed in these courses. Okay, so those are your announcements. Let's take a look at the, so then there's a tutoring tab. There's the syllabus. Some of the stuff you won't see because this is for faculty, but your library sources, you can click on this and it will take you to and tells you, how to check those. Remember you saw that earlier. Tells you how to deal with ebooks, how to deal with as a new student, APA guides, writing guides, Grammarly, dealing with transferable skills, which we're going to talk about. And speaking of guides, if you click on guides here, it will take you to School of Justice Studies listed as one of the guides. And here it is to help you with research, writing, APA, and so forth. This gentleman is Dennis Johnson, who you'd have a chance to meet. You go to those seminars I told you. He's the librarian for you guys to help you be successful. And then this is how you can also reach out for a chat during the hours of Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then Sundays, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. as well. And these are other skills that can help you as well. Okay. So he tells you you can chat right now, but I'm not going to do that now because we're in class. So those are some of the tools that you have there. All right. So now I want to go to the syllabus. So the syllabus contains, it's your contract with the school, tells you my name, and then those of you who've had me before, you know that you can call me, text me, or email me any hour of the day. Can you guys see this? I think I'm sharing it. Oops, I'm not sharing it. My bad. Yep. So now you can see it. Sorry about that. That meant that the other stuff that I just showed you. Oh, let me back up because I forgot when I got out of that thing, I didn't share it again. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I was talking about, the library sources. So you could click on that. and then you could hover over it. And then if you clicked over guides, it takes you to the School of Justice Studies, and it provides you with things that can help you in justice studies. And then this gentleman again, he is the Justice Studies librarian, Dennis Johnson. Okay, and you can schedule an appointment with him. And then also it tells you how to set up a chat, which is going on right now. It'll probably pop up again, and until 8 p.m. Central. So if you wanted to do a chat, you could do that, start a chat, put the information in there, and then you'd be able to get a chat with the librarian or someone, and they can help you out as well. So we have all kinds of things that will help you as well. Okay. So we want to make sure that you're successful. So now let me go back to the syllabus. So again, my name. You can call me, text me, almost, let's see, everybody in this group. I recognize you from other classes. I think Jalisa and Lynn, you were both in other classes of mine. Am I right? You can type in the chat box. Yep. Lynn, you were in one of my classes too, I think, right? Yeah, and I know Andrew was. So I got familiar people here. That's good. So some of this stuff I can speed up a little bit then, but not too much because there are some people who didn't hear the lecture. So anyway, my requirements for assignments are here. You have discussion posts. And of course, again, there's no discussion post this week, but your discussion posts weeks 2 through 6 worth 150 points. Your initial posts are due on Tuesdays, and reply posts are due on Saturdays. Your written assignments, 280 points, then they're due on Sundays at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then your quizzes. And I talked about this earlier, that in this course, you'll have 3 opportunities to take the quiz before the week is over. So the high, and you don't have to worry about what happens. The highest grade will be the final grade. Okay. So this is not one of those instances where you start the quiz and then something happened and you don't get to finish it. Well, then you'll get that grade. But then you got 2 more bites out of the apple as well. But you're not supposed to write stuff down, okay? Live lectures, you get the points for that as well. You know my rule. I focus on A, B students. I say never call me, text me, email me any hour of the day, even the 25th hour of the day if you can manage to do that, and ask me how do I get a C or lower in your class. I'm not going to be rude. I'm just not going to answer it for you because you don't need me to answer that for you. You should be able to do that by yourself. But do you really want to do that? I don't think so, because you guys want to be successful in your future endeavors. And those who get the good grades, not so much for school, but while getting those good grades, what you do is you develop good work ethic and the opportunity to be able to advance in your future careers as well. And so one student said, Professor Wright, you're a little difficult. You grade us like we're professionals. I said, well, I'm trying to get you to the professionalism. How do you do it if I don't teach you how to do that? If I do show you, I take lots of time to focus on the rubrics, and we're going to talk about that a little bit to make sure you get those assignments done. Since we use rubrics, that is so good. It's objective. I don't determine If you know that you did everything in that section of the rubric that qualifies you for exemplary, then you know you're going to get all those points all the way down. And I read through them and I compare them. I see it. And that's how I have to take off points. So it's important for you to follow that rubric. So anyway, AB is how I roll. Honor roll and Dean's list. If you need accommodations, reach out to your accommodations officer. Your transferable skills, these are skills that we've identified that schools have been, all schools, but we especially been told that you got to be good at these areas in order to get hired. Written and oral communication. We're tough on written communication because that is oftentimes what separates people, the written skills. And then you have to be able to express yourself orally. That's what I do. I do this as a lecturer in college. I do it as a radio person. I do it when I'm communicating on the internet and radio, or I've done it on television, and I do it as a pastor speaking to my members of my church. And just generally, I do a lot of public speaking. So I'm able to do that. But I had to work at it because it was so important to be able to communicate. And so we want your written and oral communication to be excellent. Critical thinking, that is your analytical skills, being able to analyze things. And then in this week's module, you'll see some more details on that, which I'll point out to you before we adjourn tonight. Digital fluency. Everything's digital. Everything's computers. All your textbooks. I'm glad because I remember I had to carry these heavy books for all my classes. But now I have all of my classes for my textbooks right here in the palm of my hand. I have them on my computer, and I have them on a laptop, and I can just pull them out. And it's very convenient as well. But you're going to learn how to do that. That's why it's important for you to learn how to use the Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, learn how to use PDF, learn how to utilize all methods, PowerPoints and things of that nature to complete your professional work as well as written assignments. When you do presentations, a lot of times you're going to have to prepare a PowerPoint. Diversity, we have people from all walks of life, people from all parts of the country, people from all parts of the world. I have a student in my class I did last night, constitutional law. He's from Liberia. I have people from other countries as well. And I love to listen to people speak and listen to what they're saying and expressing themselves. We have to appreciate the cultures, the religious beliefs, the preferences that individuals have in life, whether sexual preferences or whether LGBT or any other group. You're going to have to operate with these individuals. We at this school focus on these things. That is why we include it not only as one of our transferable skills, but we also have a diversity and inclusion council, which I'm part of at this school as well. You're going to find out when you leave here, employers have the same requirement. HR, human resources, is required to operate on a diverse fashion. If you're going to be in corrections, if you're going to operate, whether you work in a jailer or you're going to work in a prison, you work as a probation officer or a parole officer, you're going to discover diversity in people that speak different languages and have different cultures, celebrate holidays different, have pride in themselves. That's why You should understand when a person says Black Lives Matters or Black Power or Black this, it's not a racial segregating type of activity. It's just so you learn who people are. I have friends of mine who are Polish, and they say Polish power or Irish. Here, I'm in Chicago. Heck, here, you can't be in Chicago and not understand Irish, especially on St. Patrick's Day and that kind of thing. So we have diversity, and that's important. Teamwork. You work together as team members here in this class with your discussion posts. But you're going to be working as a team member throughout your careers. You're going to be put into groups. I know I have, as a lawyer, I've had investigators to work with me. I've had paralegals, of which I used to be one, a secretary. I've had, like I said, the forensic people, um, medical examiners, all from all areas, police officers, detectives, at all levels. So you're going to work as a team. Your ethics must be at the top. Ethics is so, so important. And it really should be, we talk about an ethical framework, but ethics should be developed and started at home. And you ought to, at all times, operate ethically. There is no time that you should operate unethically. I always say that if you're an unethical student, you're going to possibly be an unethical professional, and actually that's an oxymoron. You can't be an unethical professional. Professionals are ethical. And you get my point there. So, and it will land you in trouble, sometimes behind bars. If you're a law enforcement officer, what happened with Derek Chauvin, what happened with, I can't think of his name, in the Laquan McDonald case here in Chicago here. And there are more and more of these types of cases. It's not an attack on law enforcement, because we want, I think you should want people who are ethical working alongside you. And I think if you make ethical decisions, you'll go far in your successful world, and you go far in your unsuccessful world if you're unethical. So ethics is one of the things that will carry you on. Professional responsibility, following the processes that are set out for the areas when you belong to the National Association of Parole Officers, Probation Officers. If you're an attorney, you have a canon of ethics. If you are an accountant, you have an agency. If you're a jailer or person who works in prison, the same kind of things. There are responsibilities that a reasonable person performing services should operate under, and you learn those. And then once you get with an agency, the agency itself will have professional responsibility training and teaching. We here at this school just completed Title IX and harassment training. Every year we have to do it. And it's a great thing, because it's sad what's going on in our world today when it comes to sexual harassment and things of that nature, both against males and females, and that it's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. So professional responsibility is one of them. The final one is information literacy, and that means you're able to conduct research and come up with credible sources, reliable sources. There is one source that I'm going to call out, but I'm going to let you call it out, that you know that if you use in this class, you got a problem. What is it? You got it. And it's important for people to understand why. Wikipedia is a word-based web page, which means people can come along and change the information in there. And you rely on that information, and so it's not credible, because it could be changed by anybody. Okay, so we don't allow it. I look at it sometimes for entertainment. But the point of the matter is that in the academic world, it has no place. And that's just the number one offender. But there are other offenders as well. But that's the main one. Okay, so those are the transferable skills. I'm not going to talk about the attendance policy. I am going to take a few minutes to talk about something that you already know about the late assignment policy, that your assignments, as I said earlier, let's start with your written assignments are due on Sundays, and that if they are a day late, then you lose 10% for each day. Now, be aware that, and I'm telling you this up front, if your assignments are due on Sunday and on Monday, if you look at your grade, it's going to say 0 because I have to put a 0 in there. That is not your final grade, or it could be. If you never submit the assignment, it will be. But the reason it's in there is so that the advisors are able to know that you didn't do anything. And it goes to them. And it also should send a red flag to you, says, oops, I missed it. That doesn't mean you can't turn it in. Now, you may lose points. And I'll talk about ways that you cannot lose points. But the point of the matter is that each day your assignment's late, you're going to lose 10% of the grade, up to 7 days. That's nothing to get comfortable about, because by the time you get to 7 days, you lost 70%. That means you get the 30 or less, and that's way failing. That's way failing. Look at that. That's below 60%. So that is failing. So basically, by the time you get to week 6, I mean day 6, you're in the weeds. Day 5, you're in the D's. You see what I'm saying. All right, so you got that point down. However, instructors may waive the late penalty in the case of extenuating circumstances. Those of you who have been in my classes before know I'm very liberal with that. And sometimes I will say you submitted your assignments 3 days late. However, I will deduct only for 1 day. And then sometimes I deduct for no days if I know that there are extenuating circumstances. But you got to let me know. You know how you can reach me. You know that I'm available. If you try it, if you haven't tried it, try it. It'll work. And I'm here to help you. I don't fail anybody. My students put themselves in the position, and I try to do everything to help you to get to the AB category, because I get excited about that. And I've got a lot of students that are in that category. Now, when it comes to discussion posts, you already should know that, as I said, discussion posts are due on Tuesdays, and the reply posts are due on Saturdays. Now, with the exception of the last week, but weeks 2 through 5, it's Tuesdays and Saturdays. If you don't submit a discussion post by the end of Saturday, and you submit discussion post Sunday, like the assignments are due other than the discussion posts, you get a 0. You get a 0. If you submit your discussion post late, you also should be aware of this. I deduct a point for each day it's late. I don't even do the percentage. I do 1 point. And what happens oftentimes is that a student will submit an assignment, an initial post on Saturday, and a reply post, which is fine. You lose points for that late submission of that initial post. And then if it's quality, if it's got critical thinking in there, analysis, then you will receive points for full credit for the one for Saturday. Now let's suppose you submit your assignment for discussion post, initial post on time on Tuesday, and it's good, but you don't submit your reply post until Sunday. you should be aware that you will still be able to get points because I give people a break with that. It's my interpretation of the rules, and the school has told me, fine, Dr. Wright, you want to do it that way, it's okay. I see what you're doing, and that's pretty fair. You're giving your students a big break because technically the discussion forum is over as of Saturday at after 11:59 p.m. But I'm willing to do that for my students. So that's how things work as far as the late assignment policy. I will not, students said, can I do some makeup work? I said, how are you going to do makeup work for something you haven't done the other work? No, not going to be able to do that. Not going to be able to do that. So here's the best practice. Get them in on time. Get your assignments in on time. The next best practice is if you have a problem, let me know. What's the best way of reaching me? Not email, but to text me or call me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. I'm here, and I'm not going to be spending as much time every week as I've had in the past going over that statement, because I'll just say just go back and listen to the open house, because it's important that I get into the content of the materials for you guys. If you can submit your assignments after the last day of class if you followed the steps here. The incomplete. But guess who has to approve an incomplete? I do. You must request an incomplete from your instructor prior to the last day. And let me know. Let me know. You know, and don't send me no email telling me that. That's too important. I think it would be too important if it was me. So anyway, read this over and understand that. All right. And then this is the academic integrity policy, which I invite you to read yourself as well. Okay, we got about a half an hour more to go. Let's see, so I've covered the announcements, I've covered all of this. Okay, any questions so far? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right. Now, so let's take a look at this week's work. Let's see where we are here. So let's take a look first at the written assignment, components of corrections. You already got a heads up on that. Earlier in the lecture, for those who came in late, you'll hear me talking about it in a capsule. And I've kind of pointed you in a direction to make it really easy for you. So what you're going to do here is you're going to create what we call an infographic or visual concept map, explaining the four components, which I already told you what they are, and they are written here, and describe two unique elements for each of these components. Present context with colors. I want it to look nice, and put your language in correct grammar and so forth. Now, it should be in a Word document. Don't give me a PDF. Don't give me a PowerPoint, because you will get a 0. It has to be a Word document, and you can do it. Okay. Now, in terms of doing it, remember now, one of the things that's important is that you understand, as you'll see in a few minutes, it's APA. And I already talked to you about APA. Don't just give me the information about jails and prisons and probation and parole in short form. Give me a couple, give me about 3, 4. Let me know that you really teaching me something that I don't know. And give credit for the sources in the body with citations and a reference page, a cover page. Very, 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 very important. Now, here is the rubric. Now, show you what happens. You could either be emerging, competent. By the way, this is D and F. This is C. This is B, or sometimes a high C. But this is A every time. So the four functions. Exemplary explanation of each of the four components with supporting details and examples, and support those with the place you got it from. Don't just use your textbook. Don't just use the PowerPoints. Do some research as well. Look at that. 50% of the total grade is right in here. Doing a good job here. Unique elements. An exemplary description of 2 unique elements for each of the components with thorough details. And then the colors and so forth. But remember, you said, well, Professor, I didn't see APA. Yeah, you did. It says with thorough supporting details and information. And I also said it in the lecture. Very important. So there are probably some people who have done it already. I saw 2. I haven't had the chance to look at them. But the point is, you want to ignore these columns. You want to pay. Don't I say that all the time, though? Don't I say that all the time? I know. Thank you. Let me say this. And then students say, well, I didn't get any feedback. I say, yes, you do. Your points will be determined by this. So if I mark you as proficient, that means this is what you did. If I put you as mastery, this is what you did. If you got basic explanations of each of the 4 components and you don't have any supporting details or examples, see that? Supporting details or examples, citations and references, incomplete or confused, you're going to be here. And that's going to pull, man, 50, you have lost half the grade, half of the 50%. That's bad. You don't want that to happen. Half of the 100 here. I don't want that to happen to you. My wish is for you to pay attention to this and do this and use this as a check sheet when you submit your assignment. So that's in detail, that assignment. All right. Let's move this out the way. So I want to put that over a little more. There we go. Okay. What happened? Oh, I know what happened. It all disappeared. Wait a minute. Refresh it. Maybe it'll come back. Took the WebEx out. Then that's what happened. Yep. Okay, what happened? I hate this. Let me go back. Share. Okay, let's do stop sharing and see what happens. Something happened, and I don't know what happened here. Okay, there we go. Now let's share. There it comes. Okay. All right. Okay, now let's get rid of this. Okay, so now you got all the assignment here. Now the quiz. I cannot open the quiz itself because if I open it up, it's going to show you. Now, I think that it still has 3. Nope, I can't do that. I want to see how many times it shows because I think I have to. Okay. Let me make sure that it's got. Okay. Oops, I didn't want to do that either. You saw the first question. No, I was trying to see the part where it allows for 3. Let's go back. Might have to take you out and then do it that way. Because it's supposed to be 3 times. Okay, it says visible to students. Okay. Anyway, you get 3 attempts at this quiz. I think that in order for me to do that, I have to get into, can I do it in the grade book? Let me see. Let me see, it might not do it then. Let's see. It just tells the names up. I don't want to do that either. I'm trying to see if they've taken it down and made it 1 time now, because the last time I taught this course, it was 3 times. And I'm still trying to see that. There's 2 people have done it already. Let's go back to content. I hate this when this happened. Okay, you know what? I know how to do it. Let's do the get started. It'll tell me. Or schedule. It just says quiz activity 1. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe I can go back to the syllabus and see what it says. But I don't want to misstate. That's what I'm trying to do, because I know what it was before. There will be 6 quizzes throughout the course. Each quiz contains multiple choice and true-false questions. It doesn't tell me. I just wonder if they changed it, because they've been known to do that and not tell us. Let me just say this to you. Let's operate on the basis that it's 1 time now. But I think it's still 3. I can't find where because they used to have it really clear in the instructions, where we could check the quiz. See if it, I think that's, no, that doesn't do it either. Okay, give me 1 second. I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Then I'm gonna go over and look at it because you shouldn't be able to see it then. Okay, I know now. It says 3 times. All right, but they should put that in the instruction. Let me go back and share my screen again. Okay, all right. So it is 3 times. All right. And I don't know if it's the setting that I set it on, but I think it's the setting that it came back on as 3 times. But they used to say in here that it was, you'd had 3 times, but they didn't, they took it out. Every time they give us these courses, they give us something different. So anyway, you just presume you got 3 because it says you have 3 already. And so the final grade will be determined by that. Now, those 3 must be done before the due date, or 11:59 p.m. Sunday. Okay, everybody with me on this? Okay, it is. It's. I apologize, but I just presumed it was 3 because it told us in the module before it was 3. But anyway, I don't know what that is. So anyway, back to the point here. So your live classroom recording. This is the link, but you all already know that because you're here. Okay. And then your live lecture phrase, that I'll give you, you'll add that in, and you know how that goes into the Dropbox. All right. And those are the assignments for this week. All right. And actually, I've covered these materials here. The transferable skills. This is where if you wanted to go back and look at something yourself on it, I'm not going to repeat it. You can start this and then click on this. Oh, this is the one that's tricky. I see, I forgot what they do here. You have to hit next. Hit next. Then it tells you transferable skills. And it explains something that we've already talked about. So then you go next. Okay. Then our transferable skills, and here they are. And if you click on each of these, it'll open up. Improve thinking, including problem solving and creativity by applying intellectual standards such as clarity, precision, logic, and reflection. So I've already talked about those: communication, written and oral communication, reading, diversity. We talked about that. Ethics, the principles, information literacy. Okay, so that's what that is. That's a little bit more on that. And then here's some breakdown of the interpersonal skills. The interpersonal skills, which they talk about, are communication, ethics, professional responsibility, diversity, and teamwork. Those are interpersonal. Here are the personal skills: digital fluency, information literacy, and critical thinking. Those are the things that you do as an individual. And that's just a breakdown of how those are analyzed. So that's something for you yourself as well. The 4 correctional components, I already covered that, so I'm not going to repeat it, but you can get into, this can help you with your research. I talked about jails, prisons, probation, and parole. I talked about determinate sentencing and indeterminate sentencing. I'll repeat it. Indeterminate sentencing is where there's a range given for a sentence. For example, 2 to 5 years. And so the paroling authorities determine when the date is within that 2 to 5 year range. That's indeterminate. Determinate sentencing is when the court sets a sentence and the release is calculated from the number of days, months, or year. So it's out of the parameters of the parties. Notice the information here. This falls under parole. This falls under parole as a section. And remember, you have to go to prison first before you get parole, and I've covered that already. So I'm not going to repeat any of these things. I covered them pretty well for you and broke them down for you at the beginning. Do you have any questions about any of these components? Okay. I just cut to the chase. This is only about one of these. And each week we're going to elaborate on them. So we're not going to get into the details, but this is an introduction. And pretty much, I didn't give you all the history and all of that stuff, but this is some little historical stuff. But you'll want to do some research for as to how they apply now in your papers that you're going to complete. And then it breaks it down here even more. Jails and prisons. We got about 7 minutes. Jails and prisons. So you hit this start button. This is something that can help you. Prisons operating at a federal and state level can be blank run. And you can put in there and then submit. Then you can go type your text here. Prisons operating at a federal and state level can be blank run. I know the answer, but you're going to have to figure it out and then put it in there. And each of these you're going to go over so you can do that. That's for your knowledge check yourself on jails and prisons. The same thing you have on probation and parole. Type your answer. Blank process rights apply to the revocation process. I think you're going to find that if you put this word in and submit, yep, due process. That means you have a hearing, you have opportunity to face your accusers before there's a violation and so forth. And then you continue on. The parole board has blank in the revocation process. So anyway, I'm just leaving that for you. So you can go through and you can do those. I kind of talked about both of those, all of these a little bit, but then it's in your materials. If you've read the chapters, looked at the PowerPoints, then you'll have it. Corrections, this is just a little history for your information. And it tells you how they first started. Then you go to the next one. So now you get into the timeline in itself. So this is how corrections started. Now, going all the way back to BCE to the Middle Ages. And so it tells you 1750 BCE, and it tells you about the Code of Hammurabi. I laugh whenever I see this because we learned this in law school. But I'm not going to try to bore you with it. You want to research, open it up, you go do some research, it'll tell you what it is. But it started saying that if you did wrong, you have to pay somebody for what you did to them. You're going to pay a price. That's really what it meant. All the way to Roman law, to the Middle Ages. This is just a history, remember. This is for your information. All the way through the Middle Ages, the early jails, early prisons, 16th, 17th century, early corrections, and going back to 1596, all the way to 1779. In the 18th century, you can click on each of these and it'll tell you something. And then finally, you got the moving all the way up to the 20th century, where prisons, minimum, medium, maximum security. Minimum is where you're not really a bad person and it might have hardly any walls or anything. Medium has some walls, some guards. Then you get here, this is when you get the old towers where the guys are with the guns watching over in the cells, and you might have people spending more time in their cells. And so because of technology, privatization of jails, of prisons, that means that the government has contracted with private organizations to run prisons. We hate them because there's some legal issues that come about that are more in depth than I really would like to go into. But the point of the matter is that there's some constitutional rights that are violated by these privatizations of prisons, and there's no constitutional remedies because it's not the government doing it. So then the prisoner rights they have there as well. So anyway, that's just a little bit about that. So you can take a look at that. And then like I said, that's just some fodder for you to chew on. Vocabulary review. Pay attention. Pay attention. You'll want to know this stuff for your quizzes. And it helps you to understand and prepare for the graded assessment. That's what I was talking to you about. So you begin. Okay, I'm gonna just do this one because we're almost at the end. Which of the following describe the term corrections? 1, 2, or 3? Some say 1. Any 2s or 3? That's right. So you see why I want you to do these. One last time for the road. Which of the following describes the term lex talionis? I didn't mention this, but it's in the book and it's in the PowerPoints. If you read it. What do you think? All you'll be guessing at it. Which one do you think it is? What sounds like it might be lex? Don't be Googling. You said 1. Okay. That's wrong. The law of retaliation. That's what it is. That's why I was laughing. That punishment should correspond with the degree of the offense. I knew that because I knew what the Latin meant, but Anyway, so that's so you do that. Okay. Go through those and you will be able to be prepared for your exam. Um, any questions about anything today? All right. We're at the end of the day. I hope that I've given you a good start. Everybody went to one, huh? That's cool. That's no, it's about retaliation. But anyway, now you know. Um, I don't think Jaleesa tried to do one. Did you? Let me see if it's not showing up here. No, you said I'm staying out of this one. But that's okay. You can get it wrong here, but you want to get it right on the test. Any questions? I only laugh because see, you guys are veterans. And one of you I knew would ask me this question. Lynn was the one. So Lynn, why don't you pick the code word? Tell me what you think it is, and I'll tell you if it is what I have in mind. Oh, you're funny. But you're also right. You're right. It is. It is corrections. I usually first week I'm pretty light on that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's exactly what it's about. Because isn't that what we talked about for the last hour and a half? Pretty much corrections. Remember one thing about this course. The only people who fall in the purview of corrections are people who have either pled guilty or been found guilty. People who were acquitted, they don't make it to the corrections. And what's the root word of corrections? What's the root word of corrections? Hmm. To correct. So if a person was acquitted and found not guilty, do you need to correct them? Technically, the answer is no. But I, as a lawyer, had many clients that were found not guilty. I still corrected them because I knew things that, I'm their lawyer, defense lawyer. I didn't lie for them, but the system let them go. So I let them know that I'm going to correct you so I don't see your butt back here again. That's, I mean, because it costs a lot of money. My services as a defense lawyer and most defense attorneys back in those days was $8,000 to $10,000 for a felony case. So figure this out. I do 20 a year. It's a pretty good money, huh? But anyway, the point of the matter is that no, you're right. So that's why I'm telling you, we think in terms of just if you get this into you, you'll see, okay, I see where jail fits. I see where parole fits. I mean, I see prisons fit. I see where parole and probation fit. It all makes a lot of sense when you look at it from that angle. So, okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. Um, enjoy your week. If you have any questions, one thing you can do right away is you can put your keyword in, and you'll get your first grade tonight. Thank you. You guys, I hope to see you again next week at the same time, 7 o'clock, and we'll be through by 8 o'clock from this point on. All right. Have a good week. Stay safe. Reach me if you need me. Good night.